Survey commissioned by KBLA Talk 1580 and conducted by Viteris, the black voters surveyed were highly enthusiastic about the March 2024 primary. The race for Los Angeles District Attorney is being hotly contested. Incumbent DA George Gascon's efforts to implement progressive criminal justice reforms have generated pushback from within his own office, the broader law enforcement community, and some in the general public. He was the subject of at least 2 failed attempts to qualify recalls. The concerns about crime are reflected in the polling results of black voters. Nearly 1 in 4 have been victims of violent crime or have someone close to them who has been a victim. 1 in 5 black voters have personally been victims of property crime in the last 2 years. A majority of respondents feel less safe than they did a year or 2 ago, but they reject the notion that criminal justice reform has gone too far. This year, black voters will be looking for candidates who speak to the complexity of the issues as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly half of black voters have an unfavorable view of DA Gascon, but his challengers are largely unknown. Nearly half of the black voters are also undecided, which means there's a clear opportunity for candidates to connect with black voters. Our poll makes 3 things abundantly clear. Black voters matter. Black voters are closely following this race, and the candidates for DA have a lot of work to do. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to the mobilization and use of the franchise to empower our audience to identify and pursue their interests in advancing equity, inclusive representation, and multiracial solidarity. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. We welcome your feedback.
Welcome back in. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Is that as yet? Okay. I remember this video because they were standing in the circle like back to back, and at that time the special effects seemed really grand that they had with I don't think it was green screen, but it was something like that, animation. I don't know. It was just a lot happening back there. And one of the guys used to be in Boys to Men, right? That was in the group, I believe so. Mark somebody used to be in Boys to Men.
Oh, Mark Nelson.
Yep.
15 minutes.
Yep.
And it's funny because I felt like in that video they was trying to get their Boys to Men on, like water runs dry.
Something like that. They definitely were trying to, and they had a minor hit, but nowhere near what Boys to Men did. But, everybody isn't able. Listen, welcome back in. As always, if you want to join the conversation at any point during tonight's show, hit us up 800-920-1580. Of course, the YouTube chat. Forensic accountant already on the topic because we are talking about Beyonce's new music released. And the word that, because, the Beehive is strong. They're out there. They're already campaigning for Mrs. Carter. And forensic accountant says, I should call one of those country stations in Oklahoma and request Workin' Panub by Buckwheat. That is a joke you will only get if you watch SNL in like 1982. Shout out to Eddie Murphy. Doubt they would play that either. So, it's an interesting thing. We, without a doubt, knew that there was going to be some pushback on B, but, we'll get into that in a second. Before we do, I'm not sure if you know, but J-Lo is dropping a new docuseries or documentary, self-financed, on her failed kind of love life and all of the things that she went through to get to this point of this lovely, lovely relationship with Ben Affleck, right? So she approached several friends. She financed it. It's getting ready to drop. It's a 20 million, 3-part multimedia project called The Greatest Love Story Never Told. And it includes an album and a documentary. And it's basically examining Jennifer Lopez's life as a serial romantic. I mean, I suppose before Kim Kardashian, it was expected that J-Lo would be the modern day Elizabeth Taylor. Don't know if you guys remember, but Elizabeth Taylor got married like 8 times. Her love affairs were very passionate, some of them scandalous, lots of great expensive jewelry involved. And, it was one of the things outside of Elizabeth's movie career that she was really known for. And people kind of thought that that would be J-Lo's takeover. And she was referred to as such with all of her, great love affairs and marriages and the different diamonds. We went crazy. Well, the public went crazy. Her first engagement with Ben because she got the pink diamond and all of that. But we know what happened after that. So Jennifer talks about how their relationship the first time around crumbled under the weight of the pressure and that they lost their senses of self and that they needed to separate because they didn't know how to survive all of the suffocating attention and so forth. So, 2 decades ago, a lot has changed since then. J-Lo has earned more than $1 billion at the box office. So her rom-coms are a thing. We know that. That's her big thing. So I wonder if people are going to show up for this documentary on her love affair with Ben. Seems kind of weird. Whenever she gets with Ben, she jumps out the window. It's just like when she released that album in 2022 and it had the letter on it, Dear Ben, and I think that album was called This Is Me Now or something like that. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Her song with Lotto seemed to have come out and disappeared. Maybe it's still popping. We'll check it out. Anyway, when we come forward, we'll get into this Beyonce story plus more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world. if we care enough. If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, Beyonce dropped her Texas Hold'em single and 16 carriages on Sunday following the Super Bowl. And, of course, the Beehive went to work requesting it. So, allegedly, a guy named Justin called a local Oklahoma country radio station and asked them to play Texas Hold'em, right? According to his ex account. And he said that the station initially refused to do so. And he emailed them again, and they responded, and he showed the alleged email, and they said that they only play country music, so they would not be playing Beyonce. So to be fair, maybe the station, didn't watch the Super Bowl or isn't up on Beyonce or paying attention to Beyonce news and didn't realize that she dropped a country album. However, they do now because, of course, the Beehive flooded the station, flooded their social media with complaints and commentary. TMZ reached out to the station, it's KYKC, and they basically said that it was a mix-up and that they hadn't received either of Beyonce's singles. And another station in the same area, country music again, also repeated the same thing. So again, it's possible, maybe, I don't know how big these stations were, don't know how Beyonce was servicing the music to radio, but, they're going to have to get with it and get with the times. I think not that country music needs Beyonce's help, but I do think it will be interesting to see a push into another area. We'll have to see how it all goes down. Listen, having a fan base like the Beehive, like the Barbs, like the Swifties, definitely pays off in 2024. They will activate and mobilize. And the thing that's so crazy about it is, how do they activate and mobilize so quickly? I mean, social media, yeah, but how do they know where they're going to target, when to swarm, and whatever? It's really quite interesting. It's almost like studying, how there are ants and stuff, ant colonies, and people go in and record them or things like that. It almost feels like that, the way that they react. So shout out to Beyonce for keeping her foot on everybody's collective neck, and we'll have to see what comes next with it. CMAs is not going to be able to turn her away now. But I mean, didn't they just have K Michelle perform on it recently? So, I mean, and she did do that one performance with the Dixie Chicks that time. But if I recall, they removed the footage pretty quickly from their website. But obviously, that's not something that would be duplicated over again this time. So, you know, good luck. You can't stop the beehive, you can't hold them down. Speaking of Beyonce, she was in her full cowboy situation out in New York for her nephew Jules' first fashion show. He walked in New York Fashion Week for the Lunar brand, which is a brand I've never heard of, but he looked amazing. And B was there with her cowboy hat wrapped silver, so we are Renaissance cowboy looking absolutely stunning as we know. And we'll have to see. We know that in the fall, she shifted the entire paradigm for fashion, right? And everyone was looking for metallic silvers when that is not something that they had been considering before. So I can't wait to see what's happening with the spring lines and how many people are clamoring to get little cowboy accessories. I mean, in some ways, it already comes into play when you think about festival and what they usually do for their festival lines, but we'll have to see. Beyonce is influential no matter what Shannon Sharp says. So listen, in continuing with some stuff that happened at the Super Bowl, shout out to Ariana Grande for holding her people down. So there was a moment when the camera flashed to the suite that she was sitting in, and she happened to be in the suite with Victoria Monet and Cynthia Erivo, who stars with her in Wicked, which is coming, later this year. Well, you could see Ariana become visibly frustrated because the camera only acknowledged her and not the recent Grammy winner and the co star of her film, also, who is an Academy Award nominated actress. So, shout out to her for holding it down and making sure that the recognition is there. When people talk about advocates, that's the stuff they're talking about too. I know it's a small thing, but I think it's an important thing that she recognizes what the visuals on her will do and wants to make sure that the same type of focus is given to the women that she works with, especially as they are Black women. So we'll take it. Even though I know, some people feel as though little Ariana's a home wrecker. I don't know. I like Ponytail. We've been through that. Positions was a great album. So, speaking of Beyonce, there's been a lot of talk about in our yeehaw era with B, it's cowboy hats and big blonde hair and the big T's, right? Well, we know that hair, as far as our community, is a big source of conversation. B actually has a hair care line coming out in a couple of days. The FDA has finally announced that they will be banning formaldehyde in hair straightening products. Well, we all know who is the primary consumer of hair straightening products. It's Black and brown women, really Black women, right? This comes more than a decade after research raised alarms and let them know that there were dangers to use, to including formaldehyde in products. I mean, for the record, formaldehyde is banned in a bunch of other things, but it was slow rolled as far as hair straightening. Now, some argue because people felt that it was important to the straightening process and that the clients or the consumer really didn't want the product removed, which, I mean, even if that's true, so it's dangerous. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like any excuse will do, especially when it comes to products, things that can just be pushed out. Like Snoop said, product doesn't talk back. So shout outs to them for finally recognizing. I heard that perms are making a comeback, that people are tired, some, of dealing with the natural hair because it's a lot of work. Or there's new versions of it. We'll have to see. It's out there. So speaking of perms and curls and tight looks, social media once again has smoke for what I feel is an overreaction. Now, we know Shaquille O'Neal is like a big kid. We know Shaq is friendly and has jokes. But I guess, we really, really, really are in a totally different era. So Shaq, like many people, was at the Super Bowl over the weekend, and he posted a photo of he, Ice Spice, and Taylor Swift. And he captioned the photo, Shaq and Ice Spice, she's so damn fine. Thanks, Taylor Swift. Well, social media went crazy and said that this was super cringy and that Shaq was trying to shoot his shot at the 24-year-old and he's way too old. So here's a question I have, and I'm being serious. I'm not even being facetious. Is it inappropriate that if he thinks she's an attractive woman, he says she's an attractive woman? I don't know. I mean, it's not like he met her and she's his daughter's friend. I'm not advocating for them to link up. I get why people feel like that would be a problem. But simply saying someone is attractive, it, it doesn't look like he was, at least in the photo, on her inappropriately. We haven't heard anything. Why is this such a big deal? Why does it cause such an overreaction? Is it because you know that he literally has the potential to date her? People talk about various people's attractiveness all the time. It's so weird now with social media. Everything means something even when it doesn't. And I really wish sometimes that we could just relax and just be. I know that seems like a stretch, but feels like feels like we are, all with the drama. Oh, one other thing that I forgot to add, naturally, Solange was at her son's debut of the show. Um, the thing that's interesting is a lot of people have been wondering where Solange has been in relation to Beyonce. She didn't pop up a lot. We know that sometimes they seem to go through their things like all siblings do, and people have been wondering where she's been. She did pop up on social media at one point for a minute, but I feel like Solange just does her. And she is out there living her best life, and she is unbothered because, listen, social media has got everybody in a chokehold. I am going to say that I don't know if I love Beyonce's look at this event. She did have on some glasses too, again, sparkly boots, head to toe, and a purse. I will say though, um, fashion and beats, she wears some stuff occasionally that I like, but I don't, for whatever reason, think of Beyonce as a fashion diva, even though I know she moves the needle, blah, 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 all of those things. I don't know. It's just an interesting turn for her career. I wonder where it's all going to lead to. And will she have. Okay. So with artists like Jelly Roll and there being more black artists involved in country, more visible black artists involved in country music, Little Nas X, the other gentleman whose name I'm forgetting, will they embrace Beyonce this time around, or will they still, keep up the shields and not let the guard down? I guess we will have to see. Okay. Well, I think we have time to play this clip now. So, we've been talking a lot about music and publishing and how people make their dough. Recently, old school rapper Eric Sermon, he mentioned that he's getting to the bag because of publishing. And I find this interesting with Eric Sermon. Eric Sermon was one half of the old late 80s, early 90s rap duo EPMD. And he also was a producer. And a lot of people talked about how Eric Sermon would never make a lot of money from his songs because one of the things that he started doing was heavy sampling in some of his music. So much so that I feel like there was, I don't know if it was a complete album, but I know it was a really big single, at least, that he made no money for because there were so many samples utilized in the song. Well, apparently the tides have turned and Eric is getting the bag now. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
And this is not no boast or nothing.
Yeah.
But me owning my own publishing, everybody calls me. So if it was for all the 50 Cent shows,
right,
you know, whatever my placements, they got to call me direct. I was telling my man that music, I mean, the Weeknd is one of the most streaming artists in the world.
100%.
Right? So him and Metro Boomin did I Don't Want to Know.
Creeping, yeah, yep.
Which is you're a customer, right?
Yep.
Only owe 4% of that record, right? 4%
of the original.
Of that record, of Metro Boomin. Of your customer on that song.
Oh, so you own 4% of Creepin'? Of the publishing.
Right. Listen, every 4 months, guess how much it brings in?
$200,000.
$220.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yo, but that's 240. But
240?
That's crazy how he was on the money.
He's in it.
Yeah.
4%.
Eric, talk about track listing.
Wait, hold on. So let me get this straight. So when you, because you have to hear the song first before you clear it?
Yes. Even when they did the Mad Singer and somebody on the Mad Singer did the record.
Yeah.
Mad Singer called me.
Wow.
Everybody has to call because, again, everybody's not fortunate because luckily Leo Cohen and his brother made me me. And Russell made me me, so I didn't have to sell the publishing. Because people sell publishing when they need to get the money. So luckily I was able to survive without doing that.
For you, like, I think most people don't understand how important the pub game is because we always are pushed like, well, the streaming only pays this. If you get 1 million streams, it's like $3,800. But like the real money is really in the pub, right? Like if you can like own your publishing.
Let's back this up.
Yeah.
Even though streaming might be less than 1 cent, there's still more money being made than you signed to a label.
So I thought that was an interesting conversation for several reasons. The first being he only owns 4% of the current song with Metro Boomin and who did he say? I'm not sure what song that is, Creepin'. Andy, are you familiar with that song? Nope, you're not either. But I guess apparently it's a popular song, so much so that he's getting $240,000 every 4 months, which breaks out to around $50,000 a month. Listen, 4% for that. And this is the original song, You a Customer, had samples in it and dropped way back in the day. So if there's any lesson to learn about that is owning your IP is important, kids. It could pay off if you know what to do with it. When we come forward, we're going to have more trending topics and headlines. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Deep in the night, right by the fireside, you felt my candlelight in your soul. You felt incredible. I started to explode. I almost cried 'cause it was so beautiful. I was inside you.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Maryland Governor Wes Moore continues to have a solid approval rating. The latest Gonzalez research poll shows 58% of respondents approve of the job Moore is doing, while 28% disapprove and 14% had no opinion. Among Democrats, Moore, who is black, has a 74% approval rating, while 57% of Republicans disapprove of the governor. Pressure is building on Speaker Mike Johnson to bring Ukraine and Israel funding to the House floor for a vote. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who is black, told reporters there are enough votes in the House to send the bill to President Biden's desk today. Johnson says he will not hold a vote on the supplemental spending due to a lack of strict border policy provisions. The legislation includes $60 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel in its war with Hamas, and nearly $5 billion to support partners in the Indo-Pacific. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about posting jobs, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte with the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial. In a public opinion survey commissioned by KBLA Talk 1580 and conducted by Vitterus, the black voters surveyed were highly enthusiastic about the March 2024 primary. The race for Los Angeles district attorneys being hotly contested. Incumbent DA George Gascon's efforts to implement progressive criminal justice reforms have generated pushback from within his own office, the broader law enforcement community, and some in the general public. He was the subject of at least 2 failed attempts to qualify recalls. The concerns about crime are reflected in the polling results of black voters. Nearly 1 in 4 have been victims of violent crime or have someone close to them who has been a victim. 1 in 5 black voters have personally been victims of property crime in the last 2 years. A majority of respondents feel less safe than they did a year or 2 ago, but they reject the notion that criminal justice reform has gone too far. This year, black voters will be looking for candidates who speak to the complexity of the issues as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly half of black voters have an unfavorable view of DA Gascon, but his challengers are largely unknown. Nearly half of the black voters are also undecided, which means there's a clear opportunity for candidates to connect with black voters. Our poll makes 3 things abundantly clear. Black voters matter. Black voters are closely following this race, and the candidates for DA have a lot of work to do. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to the mobilization and use of the franchise to empower our audience to identify and pursue their interests in advancing equity, inclusive representation, and multiracial solidarity. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. We welcome your feedback.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to Michael McDonald, man. Shout out to the Doobie Brothers. All of that. The Voice. Is Michael McDonald still living? I'm not certain. Andy's going to check for us. I wonder about that. I feel like he can't be, because it seems as though he's one of those that would be getting, flowers. He is. Wow. Okay. I think it's interesting as much. I mean, he has a lot of, and I remember back in the day, like, I feel like I remember him coming on the Soul Train Awards and stuff like that. But, it's interesting to me that we have these conversations and it seems like certain artists or songs or moments pick up a lot of momentum and everybody just, yeah, that was my favorite moment too. And there are other things that were right there or equally as popular or a part of it that seem to just kind of get skipped around. So it's always interesting to me when I see that. Shout out to Brother Alfonso in the chat. We see you. Thanks for checking in. Andy, you fact checked something.
No, It was right, 72. For a minute, okay. I thought he passed away, but I was confusing him with Bobby Caldwell. But
Right. Bobby Caldwell recently passed away. And every year we watch people discover that Bobby Caldwell was not a black man and he had hits. I think when you think back to, and again, a lot of these men were from the 70s and 80s. It's such an interesting time to me when you think about music, because you think about someone like Rod Temperton, who was in Heat Wave and wrote all those hits for Michael Jackson, but looked like, there wouldn't be an ounce of soul in his body. And I wonder if now some of these artists in today's climate would be considered appropriators. And were they actually then, and we didn't have the language? Or it's interesting to me how this all moves around.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because you heard about what Questlove had to say about Post Malone.
Did not.
And his performance at the Super Bowl doing America the Beautiful. Make a long story short, Questlove basically accused him of code switching. Right?
Interesting.
You came in the game, with the whole hip hop.
Yeah.
And you over performing this America the Beautiful song for the Super Bowl. It was no lick of hip hop in his performance. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, it's quite interesting.
I mean, I do think, and we've seen it with Miley. We saw it with Christina Aguilera a little bit when Pink. Well, I think Pink was kind of different because Pink came out like that, and that was the labels thing. With these other artists like Miley and Christina, for example, it usually comes when their dive into hip hop, or the edginess usually comes when they're trying to assert themselves as, I'm a woman now. If they were someone that came out as a teen or a younger artist. And it seems like for the past few years, hip hop has been the way to show that, look, I'm edgy and I'm cool and I'm out there. So Post Malone is an interesting case because it's like everybody could see that arc coming, right? So if Jack Harlow did this, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be more surprised than Post. When I say I wouldn't be surprised, you understand what I mean? Like,
I'm with you because Post Malone, like, if you actually listen to his music outside of the quote unquote hip hop songs that he has alternative type of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I see what you mean because when you hear Jack Harlow, though, Jack Harlow is giving you
hip-hop.
That hip hop.
Yeah, and he seems to be more down. Yeah, he seems to be more into and authentically. Maybe it's not authentically. I'm just going to say it appears to be that he has an authentic connection to the culture, where Post feels like, he might have just been picking it up for a while.
I hate to say it. Sometimes I feel like it's fair game. Like, this is probably one of the reasons why some of the country stations don't want to play Beyonce. They feel like it's cultural appropriation.
And so the thing is, I understand the thought process, but I also think that, and that's why I brought up stuff about the 80s and whatever, I think that we try to niche and pigeonhole artists too much in this current time and don't allow them to try things out, to grow and to step out into other spaces. It's why I brought up how many Black artists or, R&B or soul artists at the time actually had country albums out back in the day, because we would venture off into other genres. You think about what Vegas used to be in the 70s, a lot of it was variety shows where these artists would not only do their hits, but the standards. I don't even know if the current musical audience knows what the standards are. These sort of, pop, some of them are show tunes, but songs that everybody kind of knows. They don't even know who really originally made it, but it's a song that you would always see somebody kind of do in a review. And so I think because of that, and then, things like we could all, if you had cable, you could watch MTV and maybe hope you saw a Black video or whatever until you got BET. But I think that there were more ways where it felt less restrictive to venture off into other music types, and it's just an appreciation for such. Like, I know people did not like it when Snoop became Snoop Lion and tried that on, but he didn't get, Snoop also had a gospel album. So, and all of these things make sense if you know Snoop. And I don't mean like personally, I mean just know him as a fan of his music. You've listened to some of his interviews. You've listened to the other things that inspire them. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see 21 Savage do an R&B album one day, but people might be upset at that. So I don't know.
All these hip hop artists are singing anyway.
They are, they are full. Blame Ja Rule. Blame Ja Rule.
I'm not even going to blame him because I felt like he still kept his voice.
Who would I be with my
You know what I'm
baby?
saying? Like, this is obviously pre-auto tune,
Right.
And if anybody is to blame, I'm gonna blame Lil Wayne. I'm not gonna blame T-Pain. I'm gonna blame
I see
Lil
where you
Wayne.
say that with that, because all those mixtapes. I think about, what's that song, Prostitute?
I don't even know.
I wouldn't care if you were. They
It
said it
probably
was
is.
Tina, for Trina. But I mean, Lil Wayne was on his rock star singer thing, and yeah, I see that.
We have a lot of Lil Wayne babies in this generation right now, and I think, when it comes to singing, if it wasn't for the auto tune, they probably wouldn't be singing.
That's true.
The way Ja Rule was doing it, he was harmonizing. He wasn't singing, he was harmonizing.
Right. They probably, we would still be like, let me go get an R&B singer to hop on this track and sing those parts. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyaudio.media.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyaudio.media.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, your guy Kanye, he's out there still causing havoc. You know, he said he was 2 months from going broke all over again, if not for the $7 million investment he spent in a Super Bowl spot, which garnered him $19 million. I saw a really good breakdown on social media about how really Kanye got so much more from that spot because the product that he was selling on his Yeezy website, he priced it all at the same price. I think everything was $20. And so what they brought up was the idea that getting that kind of exposure, I think they said they had a 6%, what is it called? Not engagement rate. What is it when you turn over the person? No, 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 no. It's basically that of like if 1 million people went to the website, of that 1 million people, 6% conversion rate. That's it. Yeah, exactly. So a 6% conversion rate, which I guess averaged to about 200,000 people, right? They said they got about 4 million website hits, but 200,000 people whose information, email address they now have captured and targeted. They know based off of the sales, because the top selling product, everything was the same price, was the Yeezy shoes, the slipper things or whatever. So now they have a focus. They know the product that's most in demand and where they can do development with. So not only did they make, what is that? He said he invested $7 million. So he made a $12 million profit from his initial investment. He also has valuable intel for his Yeezy brand that he can take with him and retarget and remarket to these people. So really, he's in the long run saving himself so much money. So great for that. But of course, everyone is still beefing or has an issue with Kanye, even though he doesn't care and is working his way back. One, Brandon Marshall has put out a rumor that Taylor Swift got Kanye kicked out of the Super Bowl because he bought tickets, allegedly, right under her booth so that every time, well, her suite, excuse me, every time they showed Taylor on TV, the plan was for them to show Kanye. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like Kanye has been doing a lot of media hits in the days since the Super Bowl, and if that actually happened, I can't imagine Kanye keeping quiet about it or not acknowledging it, right? I'm not saying it didn't. I'm not saying it did not. I am just saying that if it did happen and Kanye was aware of him being removed from the Super Bowl and why he was, I can't see him, we're almost at Wednesday at this point, keeping that on the low when he's spoken about so much more. But that is one. Two, he also once again spoke out and said, you guys need to mind your business about his wife. He likes the way she looks and he's very happy with her, so stay out of his. The video, of course, caused some concern because since Kanye got his titanium, I mean, I don't know, do you call it a grill? Or do you call it a titanium veneer? Is it dentures? I don't know what you call it. But the titanium permanent mouthpiece that he has, they have noticed that there seems to be a growth on his top lip. Something is happening, an allergic reaction or something. Well, that means that social media is going to get involved, and then the other outlets are going to get doctors involved. So a dentist has come in and said that they don't believe that there's anything abnormal happening with Kanye's mouth, even though there's this large growth that seems to be there. What I am going to say is, if there is not something happening now, getting a permanent titanium grill put in your mouth surely is going to lead to some type of health problems. I don't know what type, but seems like something's going up. Well, listen, not only is Taylor Swift allegedly getting Kanye the boot, Shaq is tired of Kanye speaking on things. So, Ye put, he's back on. When Kanye has something to promote, he gets very active on social media. He remembers how to use all of that. He's very much on his Instagram, posting stuff, posting at odd hours of the night, courting your attention, and he knows how to do that. Well, not recently, I think it was earlier today, maybe yesterday, Ye posted a photo of a Canadian entrepreneur named Dove Charney, and he was shouting him out for what seems to be giving him some type of financial assistance, right? Well, Shaq got in the comment section and he told Kanye, man up and stop. You guys can figure it out. You're smart. Stop beeping and stop snitching, which is so interesting because Shaq, aren't you police? How you going to tell somebody stop snitching? I'm just being funny. But he also, I guess Kanye basically was listing out who had helped him in his time of need. So this Dove Charney individual, he said, he's my brother and me and my wife's business partner. When Jamie Salter and everyone else wouldn't take my calls, he let me sleep at his factory. Jonah Hill and John Rothman and Dove Charney are three people who inspired my apology, assuming all of these individuals are Jewish. We know Jonah Hill is... He's obviously a film star, was most recently in, what was the movie with Lauren London and Eddie Murphy? It was produced by Kenya Barris, Nia Long. I can't remember the name of it right now, but that's the latest movie I remember Jonah Hill it was in, and he was also a producer of that. But Shaq called Kanye little boy and told him to stop beaching and said, I know you saw me at Super Bowl. I was waiting for you to say something smart. Man up. Nobody wants to see you crying. Man up, little boy. But then Shaq deleted the comment. I'm confused. Has Kanye said Shaq's name? Is there someone that Kanye has called out that is affiliated with Shaq? Because why does Shaq have so much smoke for Ye and talking about, I know you saw me, and what are we really doing here? What's happening? A lot going on. I guess 2024 is the year of the call out. We'll have to see what they're talking about because I'm really unsure. Back in November, Shaq posted, actually November of 2022. Believe me, you don't know me like that. Worry about your business and quote the once great Kanye West. I got more money than you, so why would I listen to you? I don't know what that was about, but that's the only time I saw Shaq I recall him mentioning Kanye's name, and that doesn't sound like a diss to Kanye. That sounds like he was using Kanye's words to throw shade at somebody else. I guess they bumped. Oh, I got it. Shaq has a business relationship with Jamie Salter, and this has something to do with the Kyrie Irving thing. I'm not sure who Jamie Salter is. I'm going to have to dive more into that. So I guess it is in defense of his friend. But really, though, Shaq, there's no reason for you to get involved in that. Listen, we got some more comments in the chat. We're going back to Michael McDonald. Brother Alfonso said, Michael McDonald also performed with Steely Dan back in the 70s and 80s. And he says, if it wasn't for Rod Temperton, who Quincy recruited, there would be no Off the Wall album by MJ. Rod is an original and driving force behind Heat Wave, as I'm sure you know, which we do. Always and forever will forever be the jam. Listen, when we come forward, more trending topics and headlines, we are going to get into a report that says that Black people in the United States are the leading consumers of media. What does that mean for us, and are we flexing our power as much as we should be? All of that and more on the other side. More Kanye updates too, because Kanye knows how to court attention. We'll keep that ready and cooking for you in hour 3. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton here